Blood doesn't wash off tile as easily as people think. Seraphina Vale learned the truth the night 4 men walked into her dying diner and decided she'd seen too much to live. What she witnessed in a motel parking lot 3 weeks ago, a briefcase, pale eyes, millions in dirty money, was supposed to stay buried. But when a stranger in a rain-soaked overcoat stepped through that door and turned the floor red in 30 seconds, everything changed. Now the most dangerous man in America wants to keep her alive, and the people hunting her would burn cities to find her first. Stay until the end. Hit that like button. Drop your city in the comments so I can see how far this story travels. The highway outside Blackridge had 2 lanes, no streetlights, and a reputation for swallowing cars whole during storm season. Seraphina Vale stood behind the counter of the Crossroads Diner, watching rain hammer the windows hard enough to rattle glass in rotting frames. 24 years old, 12-hour shift, tips that wouldn't cover gas money. The fluorescent lights overhead buzzed like dying insects, while the smell of burnt coffee mixed with grease that had been recycled too many times. She wiped down the counter for the 3rd time in 10 minutes because movement kept her awake. The clock above the register said 11:47 p.m. 13 minutes until she could lock up, drive her rattling Toyota back to the apartment she shared with 2 other waitresses, and collapse into sleep that never lasted long enough. The diner held 6 customers. 4 truckers hunched over plates of meatloaf that tasted like cardboard. An old man nursing black coffee in the corner booth. A woman in a stained business suit staring at her phone like it held answers to questions she was too afraid to ask. Nobody looked up when the bell over the door rang. 4 men walked in wearing jackets too nice for a place like this. Seraphina's stomach dropped before her brain caught up. She recognized the walk, the eyes, the way their hands stayed loose at their sides, ready. Boyd Mercer led the group, scar running from his left eye to his jaw, shoulders like a linebacker gone to seed. He'd been in 3 weeks ago asking questions about a silver sedan and whether anyone had seen anything unusual in the motel parking lot across the highway. Seraphina had lied then. Told him she worked nights, didn't pay attention to parking lots, didn't see anything worth remembering. She'd lied because the truth would have gotten her killed. Boyd walked straight to the counter while his men fanned out blocking the exits. The truckers suddenly found their plates fascinating. The old man stared into his coffee. The businesswoman stood up slowly and walked toward the bathroom without looking back. "Seraphina?" Boyd's voice carried the kind of calm that preceded violence. "We need to talk. Diner's closing soon." Her voice came out steadier than she felt. "You want coffee or food? Order now." "Not here for coffee." "Then you should leave." Boyd leaned against the counter. His breath smelled like whiskey and cigarettes. 3 weeks ago, silver sedan, motel parking lot. You were working that night. I work every night. You saw something. I see truckers and coffee stains. That's it. One of Boyd's men, stocky, bald, wearing a gold chain that caught the light, moved behind the counter before Seraphina could step back. His hand clamped around her wrist. Not hard enough to bruise yet, just hard enough to make the point. "We ain't asking," Gold Chain said. "We're collecting." Seraphina tried to pull away. His grip tightened. She looked toward the truckers. They were already standing, moving toward the door with the kind of urgency that came from knowing when to abandon ship. The old man left a $5 bill on the table and disappeared into the rain. Frank Holloway, the diner's owner, came through the kitchen doors wiping his hands on a towel. 63 years old, bad knees, worse heart. He'd hired Seraphina 2 years ago when nobody else would, asked no questions about her past, paid under the table because she had no papers worth showing. "Hey!" Frank's voice shook, but he stepped forward anyway. "Let her go." Boyd turned slowly. "This doesn't concern you, old man." "She works for me. That makes it concern me." "Then you can watch." Gold Chain yanked Seraphina's arm hard enough to slam her shoulder into the counter. Pain shot down her spine. She tried to twist free, but another man grabbed her other arm, pinning her against the register. "The sedan," Boyd said. "Silver, tinted windows. You saw the exchange." "I didn't see anything." The first punch caught her in the ribs. Air exploded from her lungs. She doubled over, but the hands on her arms kept her upright. The second punch hit the same spot. Something cracked. Not broken. Not yet, but close. "You saw the briefcase," Boyd continued. His voice never changed. Calm, professional, like he was discussing weather. You saw who took it. You saw faces. I didn't. The third punch shut her up. This one caught her jaw. Her vision blurred. Blood filled her mouth. She spat it onto the counter and watched it pool around the coffee stains she'd been wiping down minutes ago. Frank lunged forward. Stop it! She doesn't know anything! Gold Chain released Seraphina's arm, long enough to backhand Frank across the face. The old man went down hard, hit the floor like a bag of meat. Didn't move. Seraphina screamed his name, but Boyd grabbed her throat, slammed her back against the register. Victor Halden, Boyd said. You saw him. You saw the woman with him. You saw the briefcase change hands. The name meant nothing to her. The face did. Pale eyes, expensive suit, standing in the motel parking lot at 2 a.m. while rain hammered the asphalt. A woman sitting in the passenger seat of the sedan, cigarette glowing in the dark. A man in a brown jacket handing over a metal briefcase, the trunk popping open. Stacks of something wrapped in plastic reflecting the parking lot lights. She'd been taking out trash. Happened to look. Happened to see. Happened to make eye contact with the man in the expensive suit for half a second before looking away and walking back inside like her life depended on not remembering. I don't know what you're talking about, she whispered. Boyd's hand tightened. You're lying. I'm not, He slammed her head back into the register. Stars exploded across her vision. Her knees buckled, but the hands on her arms kept her standing. Blood ran down her face from somewhere above her eye. She couldn't focus, couldn't breathe, couldn't think past the pain radiating through her skull. Last chance, Boyd said. Tell me what you saw, or I put you in the ground with your boss. Seraphina looked down at Frank, still not moving, blood pooling under his head. His chest rose and fell in shallow gasps, but his eyes stayed closed. Go to hell, she said. Boyd smiled. Wrong answer. He raised his fist. The bell over the door rang. The sound cut through everything, clean, clear, out of place in a room filled with blood and violence. Boyd froze. His men turned. Seraphina lifted her head enough to see through the haze. A man stood in the doorway, charcoal overcoat, rain dripping from the shoulders, dark hair slicked back. He didn't look rushed, didn't look surprised. He looked like he'd walked into a business meeting that had started without him and now required his immediate attention. Gentlemen, the stranger said. His voice carried the kind of quiet authority that made people stop talking and start listening. Step away from the woman, Boyd laughed. You lost, friend? Step away. This is private business. Not anymore. Gold Chain pulled a gun from his waistband. You got 3 seconds to walk back out that door before I put holes in you. The stranger didn't move, didn't flinch. His eyes, dark, cold, calculating, swept across the room like he was taking inventory. 4 armed men, 1 injured woman, 1 unconscious owner, 6 exits, including the kitchen door and bathroom window. You have 3 seconds, the stranger said quietly, to drop that weapon and leave. If you don't, what happens next is on you. Boyd pulled his own gun. Big talk for one man. I'm not alone. The windows exploded inward, glass shattered across tables and floors as 3 figures came through in a blur of motion. Gunshots cracked the air. Gold Chain went down first, his weapon skittering across the tile before he hit the ground. The second man tried to run for the kitchen, but someone clotheslined him from behind, sent him crashing into a booth hard enough to splinter wood. Boyd fired twice at the stranger. The stranger moved. Not fast, not desperate, efficient. He sidestepped the first shot, closed the distance before the second one fired, and drove his fist into Boyd's throat. The gun clattered to the floor. Boyd grabbed his neck, choking, gasping. The stranger swept his legs out from under him and let him fall. 15 seconds, 4 men down. No hesitation. Seraphina slid down the counter to the floor, arms wrapped around her ribs, trying to breathe through the pain. The stranger walked toward her slowly, hands visible, movements deliberate. He crouched in front of her at eye level. Up close, she could see the rain still clinging to his coat, the scar along his left hand, the complete absence of fear in his expression. Can you stand? He asked. She nodded, tried, failed. Her ribs screamed. The stranger stood, turned to one of the men who'd come through the window. Get her up, carefully. Hands lifted her, gentle this time, professional. She got her feet under her and leaned against the counter while her vision cleared. The stranger knelt beside Frank, checked his pulse, his breathing. He pulled out his phone and dialed without looking up. "Ruth," he said, "I need medical at the Crossroads Diner. Highway 9. 1 critical, 1 stable. 5 minutes." He hung up, looked at Seraphina. "Who are they?" "I don't know." "They know you. They think I saw something." "Did you?" She hesitated. The stranger waited, no pressure, no threats, just patience. "A briefcase," she said finally. 3 weeks ago, motel parking lot, money changing hands." Describe the man who received it. Pale eyes, expensive suit, looked like he owned everything he touched. The stranger's expression didn't change, but something shifted behind his eyes. Recognition, understanding, calculation. "Victor Halden," he said quietly. "That's what they called him." The stranger stood, walked to where Boyd lay gasping on the floor. He crouched down, grabbed Boyd by the hair, forced him to look up. "Who sent you?" the stranger asked. Boyd spat blood. "Go to hell." "Wrong answer." The stranger's hand moved. Boyd screamed. The sound cut off when the stranger released him and let him collapse back to the tile. "Who sent you?" the stranger repeated. "Conrad?" Boyd gasped. "Conrad Vale. Halden's fixer. Said she saw the exchange. Said she could identify faces. Said make her disappear. Where's Halden now?" "I don't know." "Where's Conrad?" "New York. Hotel Morrison. Room 847. The stranger stood, looked at his men. "Take this one. The others stay." 2 figures grabbed Boyd and dragged him toward the door. He didn't fight, couldn't. Whatever the stranger had done to him had taken the fight out permanently. Sirens wailed in the distance. The stranger turned to Seraphina. "You need a hospital. I need to know who you are. Someone who just became very interested in keeping you alive." "Why?" "Because Victor Halden tried very hard to make sure you weren't. That means you saw something worth killing for, which means you're worth more alive than dead." An ambulance pulled into the parking lot. 2 EMTs rushed through the door and went straight to Frank. The stranger watched them work for a moment, then looked back at Seraphina. "What's your name?" he asked. "Seraphina. Seraphina Vale." Something flickered across his face. "Vale?" "Yeah, why?" "Conrad Vale is Victor Halden's fixer. Same last name." "So? You related?" She laughed, hurt like hell, but she couldn't stop it. "I don't have family, just a name I picked off a gas station billboard when I was 16. "Where are your parents?" "Dead. Foster care. Don't know, don't care." The stranger studied her for a long moment. "You don't have anywhere to go, do you?" "I've got an apartment." "Not anymore. The moment Halden realizes his men didn't finish the job, he'll send others, better ones. You go back to that apartment and you'll be dead before sunrise." "Then what am I supposed to do?" "Come with me." "I don't even know your name." "Lucien Moreau." The name hit her like cold water. She'd heard it before. Whispered in the diner during late-night conversations between truckers who thought nobody was listening. The ghost of the Eastern Seaboard. The man who controlled money, weapons, and people from New York to Chicago without ever showing his face in public. "You're him," she said. "Yes." "The crime lord, among other things. And you want me to come with you." "I want you alive. Halden wants you dead. Simple math. What do you get out of it?" "The woman who can identify Victor Halden in a federal investigation. The witness who saw money change hands. The person who can tie him to financial crimes that have been burying bodies for 3 years. I'm bait. You're leverage." Seraphina looked down at Frank being loaded onto a stretcher. Blood still on the floor. Glass everywhere. The counter she'd wiped down 100,000 times now cracked and stained beyond repair. "What about him?" she asked. "He'll be taken care of. Medical bills covered. New diner if he wants it. Protection until this is over." "You can do that?" "I can do anything if it gets me closer to Halden." "Why do you care about him?" Lucien's expression hardened. 3 years ago, Halden's organization murdered my younger brother. Shot him in the head in an alley because he found records proving money laundering through a dozen shell companies. Federal investigators buried the case. Witnesses disappeared. Evidence vanished. Halden walked away clean. And now you want revenge. I want justice, but I'll settle for destroying his empire piece by piece until there's nothing left but him standing alone in an empty room, realizing everything he built is gone. That's darker than revenge. Revenge is quick. This is thorough. The EMTs wheeled Frank toward the ambulance. Seraphina watched him go, watched the diner disappear behind flashing lights and rain. Everything she'd known for 2 years, the counter, the coffee, the routine that kept her invisible, gone in 15 minutes. Lucien waited, didn't push, didn't threaten, just stood there in his rain-soaked coat, offering a choice that wasn't really a choice at all. If I come with you, Seraphina said, I want your word that Frank stays safe. You have it. And when this is over, I walk away, free. No strings. Agreed. One more thing. Name it. You hurt me the way they did. I'll kill you in your sleep. Lucien almost smiled. Noted. She pushed off the counter. Ribs screamed, vision swam, but she stayed upright. Let's go. He gestured toward the door. A black SUV idled in the parking lot, engine running, windows tinted dark enough to hide whatever waited inside. Seraphina climbed in. Leather seats, climate control, the smell of expensive cologne and gun oil. Lucien slid in beside her. The door closed. The driver pulled onto the highway without a word. Where are we going? Seraphina asked. Somewhere Halden can't reach you. Where's that? My home. Where's your home? You'll see. She leaned back against the seat and closed her eyes. Everything hurt. Ribs, jaw, head. The adrenaline was fading now, leaving behind pain and exhaustion that made thinking difficult. But one question kept circling through her mind. Lucien, she said without opening her eyes. Yes? Those men you sent through the windows, they were already outside, weren't they? Watching, waiting. Yes. How long? Long enough to know Boyd Mercer and his crew were coming. You set a trap. I needed to know who sent them. Now I do. You used me as bait. I protected you. There's a difference. Not from where I'm sitting. Lucien was quiet for a moment. You're right. I should have intervened sooner. I'm sorry. The apology surprised her. Crime lords didn't apologize, didn't admit fault, didn't show weakness. But Lucien said it like he meant it, like he actually regretted letting her take those punches. Don't do it again, she said. I won't. She opened her eyes. Looked at him. In the dim light from the dashboard, his face looked older than she'd first thought. Lines around his eyes, shadows under them, the kind of exhaustion that came from years of carrying weight nobody else could see. Your brother, she said. What was his name? Daniel. How old was he? 26, had a wife, daughter. They live in Boston now under new names. Does Halden know? No, and he never will. What happens when you find him? Lucien looked out the window at the rain blurring the highway. He'll wish I'd killed him quickly. And me? When I testify or identify him or whatever you need me to do, you get your life back. I never had a life to get back. Then you get to build one, from scratch, without looking over your shoulder. It sounded impossible. People like her didn't get clean starts, didn't get protection from crime lords, didn't survive long enough to testify against men who murdered witnesses for sport. But she didn't have a choice anymore. The SUV turned off the highway onto a narrow road that cut through dense forest. No streetlights, no signs, just trees pressing close on both sides and darkness swallowing everything beyond the headlights. How far? Seraphina asked. 20 minutes. To where? The estate. You live in a forest. I live where people can't find me unless I want them to. The road twisted deeper into the trees. Rain hammered the roof. Thunder rolled somewhere in the distance. Seraphina's ribs throbbed with every breath, but she forced herself to stay alert. Watch, listen, remember, because Lucien Moreau might have saved her tonight. But that didn't mean she trusted him, and it definitely didn't mean she was safe. The SUV slowed, stopped. Headlights illuminated a gate, iron, tall, flanked by stone pillars that looked like they'd been standing for 100 years. Two men in dark jackets stepped out of a guardhouse. One checked the driver's credentials. The other walked around the vehicle, scanning underneath with a mirror on a pole. The gate opened. They drove through. The forest fell away. Ahead, perched on a hill surrounded by manicured lawns that disappeared into the darkness, stood a manor. 3 stories. Stone facade. Windows glowing warm against the storm. Wings extending left and right from the main structure. Balconies, terraces. The kind of place that belonged in European countryside tourism brochures, not hidden in American wilderness. "This is your home?" Seraphina asked. "One of them." "How many do you have?" "Enough." The SUV stopped in front of the main entrance. The driver opened Seraphina's door. She climbed out slowly, testing her ribs with each movement. Pain, but manageable. Nothing felt broken, just bruised, badly. Lucien appeared beside her. "Can you walk?" "Yeah." "Ruth's waiting inside. She'll examine you, treat anything serious, get you settled." "Who's Ruth?" "My nurse, former combat medic, Army, seen worse than what Boyd Mercer did to you." "That's supposed to make me feel better?" "It's supposed to make you trust her." The front door opened. A woman stepped out. Late 50s, short gray hair, weathered face, eyes that had seen things most people only imagined. She wore scrubs and carried a medical bag. "This her?" Ruth asked. "Yes," Lucien said. Ruth walked down the steps and stopped in front of Seraphina, looked her up and down. Professional assessment. "Ribs?" "Hurt like hell." "Broken?" "Don't think so." "Head?" "Hit the register, seen stars." "Jaw?" "Took a punch?" Ruth nodded. "Come with me. We'll get you cleaned up, x-rayed if needed, and into bed. You look like you haven't slept in a week." "Try 2 years." Ruth almost smiled. "You'll sleep tonight. I'll make sure of it." She turned and walked back toward the manor. Seraphina followed. Each step sent fresh pain through her ribs, but she kept moving. Through the door, into a foyer that looked like something out of an old movie. Marble floors, crystal chandelier, staircase curving up to the second floor, paintings on the walls, real ones, expensive ones. "This way," Ruth said. They walked down a hallway, turned left, entered a room that had been converted into a medical suite. Exam table, cabinets full of supplies, equipment that looked newer than anything Seraphina had seen in a hospital. "Sit," Ruth said. Seraphina sat. Ruth set down her bag and pulled out gloves, antiseptic, gauze. She worked quickly, cleaning the cut above Seraphina's eye, checking her ribs, testing her jaw. Her hands were gentle but efficient. No wasted movement. "You're lucky," Ruth said. "Ribs are bruised, not broken. Jaw's going to hurt for a few days, but nothing's fractured. The head wound is superficial. You'll have a headache, but no concussion I can detect." "Feels worse than it sounds." "Always does." Ruth pulled out a bottle of pills. "Painkillers. Take 2 now. 2 every 6 hours is needed. Don't mix with alcohol. Don't drive. Don't do anything stupid." "Stupid like trusting a crime lord?" Ruth met her eyes. "Lucien saved your life tonight. That counts for something." "He also used me as bait. He's used all of us as bait at one point or another. Welcome to the family." "I'm not family." "Not yet." Ruth handed her the pills and a glass of water. "But you will be if you survive long enough." Seraphina swallowed the pills. The water tasted clean, too clean, like it had been filtered a dozen times. "How long have you worked for him?" 8 years. "Why?" "Because he pays well and doesn't ask me to do things I can't live with." "What about the things he does?" "Not my business. I patch people up, keep them alive, let them figure out their own morality." "That's convenient." "That's survival." Ruth packed up her supplies. "You want to judge him? Go ahead. But remember that you're alive right now because he decided you were worth saving. Most people don't get that choice." She walked toward the door, stopped, turned back. "There's a room upstairs, 2nd floor, 3rd door on the right. Clothes in the closet should fit. Bathrooms attached. Lock works if you want privacy. Breakfast at 8. I didn't say I was staying. You're staying, whether you admit it yet or not." Ruth left. Seraphina sat alone in the medical suite listening to rain hammer the windows. Her ribs hurt. Her head pounded. Every muscle in her body screamed for sleep. But her mind kept racing, running scenarios, playing out possibilities, trying to find the angle, Because people like Lucien Moreau didn't save people without expecting something in return. And whatever he wanted from her was worth more than he was admitting. The door opened again. Lucien stood in the threshold. Ruth took care of you? Yeah. You need anything else? Answers. About? What happens tomorrow? What you actually want from me? Why Victor Halden is worth all this? Lucien walked into the room and sat in the chair across from the exam table. Up close, in proper light, she could see the scars on his knuckles, the permanent tension in his shoulders, the way his eyes never stopped moving, always checking exits, angles, threats. Victor Halden runs the largest financial laundering network on the eastern seaboard, Lucien said. Billions move through his organization every year. Drugs, weapons, human trafficking. He takes dirty money and turns it clean through shell corporations, offshore accounts, and political connections that go all the way to Washington. And you want to stop him. I want to destroy him. There's a difference. Because of your brother. Because of my brother. And because men like Halden don't stop until someone makes them stop. Permanently. So where do I fit? You're the first person in 3 years who can place Halden at a physical location conducting illegal business. You saw the briefcase. You saw the exchange. You can identify faces, times, vehicles. That's evidence a federal prosecutor can use. If I testify? Yes. What if I refuse? Lucien leaned back in his chair. Then you walk away. Right now. I'll have someone drive you anywhere you want to go. Give you enough money to start over somewhere Halden can't find you, and you spend the rest of your life looking over your shoulder wondering when he'll send someone better than Boyd Mercer. That's it? No threats? No force? I don't operate that way. Every crime lord operates that way. I'm not every crime lord. Seraphina studied him, looking for the lie, the angle, the trap. But all she saw was exhaustion matching her own. A man who'd been fighting a war for so long, he'd forgotten what peace looked like. If I testify, she said, Halden goes to prison? If the case is solid, yes. And if it's not, then I finish this my way. Which means you don't want to know. Probably true. Probably better not to ask, but she asked anyway. Have you killed people? Yes. How many? Enough to lose count. Does it bother you? Lucien was quiet for a long moment. The ones who deserved it? No. The ones caught in the crossfire every day. Honest, brutal, unexpected. Seraphina felt the painkillers starting to work, the edges of the pain softening, her thoughts slowing, sleep creeping closer. I need to think, she said. Take all the time you need. I don't have time. You said Halden would send people. Not here. Nobody knows about this place except the people I trust. How many people is that? 12. That's it? Trust is expensive. I spend it carefully. Seraphina slid off the exam table. Her ribs protested, but the painkillers were doing their job. Show me the room. Lucien led her upstairs. The hallway stretched long and quiet. Doors on both sides. Most closed. He stopped at the third door on the right, opened it, stepped aside. The room was bigger than her entire apartment. 4-poster bed, windows overlooking the forest, fireplace, sitting area, closet bigger than the bedroom she'd grown up in. Clothes are in there, Lucien said, gesturing toward the closet. Bathroom through that door, lock works from the inside. Breakfast at 8, but you don't have to come if you're not ready. And then? Then we talk, figure out next steps, start building the case against Halden. How long will that take? Weeks, maybe months. I'm supposed to stay here that long? You're safer here than anywhere else. Seraphina walked to the window. Rain streaked the glass. Beyond it, darkness pressed close. No lights, no roads, just forest swallowing the world. I don't know you, she said without turning around. No, Lucien agreed. But you know Victor Halden tried to kill you, and you know I stopped him. That's enough for tonight. She heard him leave, heard the door close softly, turned and looked at the room again. Really looked. The bed with sheets that probably cost more than she made in a month. The fireplace with wood already stacked. The closet full of clothes that would actually fit. She walked to the bathroom. Marble counters, shower with multiple heads, towels so soft they felt like clouds. She turned on the water, waited for it to heat. stripped off her blood-stained uniform and stepped under the spray. The water ran red at first, then pink, then clear. She stood there until the heat finally stopped, slid down the tile wall, and sat on the shower floor with her knees pulled to her chest while water pounded her shoulders and the painkillers dragged her towards sleep. She couldn't fight anymore. When she finally climbed out, dried off, and crawled into the bed, her last thought before darkness took her was simple. Tomorrow, I figure out if I'm a witness or a prisoner. And what the hell happens when Halden realizes I'm still alive? Seraphina woke to silence. Not the kind of silence she knew from her apartment where sirens bled through thin walls and neighbors fought at 3 a.m. This was complete, suffocating. The kind of quiet that happened when money insulated you from the world so thoroughly that even sound couldn't find a way in. She opened her eyes. Sunlight filtered through curtains she didn't remember closing. The room looked different in daylight, less like a prison cell, more like something out of a magazine nobody she knew could afford to buy. Her ribs ached when she sat up. Not the sharp pain from last night, deeper. The kind that settled into bones and reminded you what happened every time you breathed. She touched the cut above her eye. Tender. Swollen. But the bleeding had stopped. The clock on the nightstand said 9:47 a.m. She'd missed breakfast. Part of her didn't care. The other part, the part that had spent years surviving on other people's schedules, felt guilty for sleeping through an obligation she hadn't agreed to. She stood, walked to the closet, found jeans that fit, a black sweater soft enough to be cashmere, socks that didn't have holes. Everything felt expensive. Everything felt wrong, like wearing someone else's skin. The bathroom mirror showed exactly what she expected. Bruised jaw, split lip, dark circles under her eyes that had nothing to do with last night and everything to do with years of bad sleep. She looked like hell, felt worse. Someone knocked on the door. "Yeah," Seraphina called out. The door opened. Ruth stood there holding a tray, coffee, toast, eggs, orange juice. The smell hit Seraphina's stomach and reminded her she hadn't eaten since her shift yesterday. "Thought you might be hungry," Ruth said. "I can come down." "No need. Lucienne's in meetings all morning anyway." Ruth set the tray on the small table near the window and turned to leave. "Wait," Seraphina said. "What kind of meetings?" "The kind that keep this place running." "Crime meetings?" Ruth smiled. "Barely. Business meetings. Whether that's crime depends on who you ask." "I'm asking you." "Then the answer is, eat your breakfast and stop worrying about things that aren't your problem yet." Yet. The word hung in the air like smoke. "When do they become my problem?" Seraphina asked. "When Lucien asks you to testify. Until then, you're a guest." "Guests can leave. So can you. Door's not locked. Cars are downstairs. You want to go? Nobody's stopping you." Seraphina walked to the window, looked out at the forest stretching in every direction. No roads visible, no landmarks, just trees and sky and the kind of isolation that made running pointless because you'd never make it far enough before someone found you. "Where would I go?" she asked quietly. "Exactly." Ruth moved toward the door again. "Eat, rest. There's a library downstairs if you get bored, gym in the east wing, pool's heated. Try not to stress the ribs." She left before Seraphina could ask more questions. The coffee was good, better than anything served at the diner. The eggs were perfect. The toast was actual bread, not the compressed foam that passed for food in her world. She ate mechanically, tasting nothing, just filling the hole in her stomach while her mind raced. Last night kept replaying. Boyd's hands on her arms. The punches. Frank hitting the floor. The stranger walking through the door like violence was a language he spoke fluently. Lucienne. The name still felt dangerous in her mouth. She finished eating, left the tray, walked to the door and opened it carefully. The hallway was empty, quiet. She stepped out and moved toward the stairs. Each step echoed despite the carpet. She felt exposed, watched, even though she couldn't see anyone. The main floor opened up into spaces that felt designed to intimidate. High ceilings, expensive art. Furniture that looked like it belonged in museums. She found the library through a set of double doors on the left. Books lined every wall, floor to ceiling, leather-bound, hardcover. First editions, probably. A ladder on rails to reach the top shelves. Windows overlooking gardens she hadn't seen last night. Chairs positioned near a fireplace that could fit a person standing upright. Seraphina walked along the shelves, ran her fingers over spines. Philosophy, history, literature, legal texts. Financial records bound like novels. She pulled one out, flipped through pages of numbers and transactions that meant nothing to her. Looking for something specific? She spun around. Lucian stood in the doorway. Different clothes than last night. Charcoal suit, white shirt, no tie. He looked like he'd been awake for hours and hadn't slowed down once. Just looking, Seraphina said. Find anything interesting? Depends. Are these real or just for show? I don't keep things for show. She held up the financial record. You read this? Every page. Why? Because knowledge is the only currency that matters. Money comes and goes. Information stays. Seraphina put the book back. Ruth said you were in meetings. They finished early. What kind of meetings? The kind where I make sure people remember why they work for me instead of against me. Sounds friendly. It's effective. Lucien walked into the library and gestured toward the chairs. Sit. We need to talk. She didn't move. About what? About what happens next. I thought I had time to think. You do, but Halden doesn't operate on your schedule, or mine. That got her moving. She sat. Lucien took the chair across from her, close enough to talk, far enough to not feel threatening, calculated distance. What happened? Seraphina asked. This morning at 6 a.m., Conrad Vale checked out of the Hotel Morrison, left the city, disappeared. The fixer. Yes. Boyd gave him up before we finished questioning him. What does that mean? It means Conrad knows Boyd failed, which means Halden knows you're still alive, which means he's already planning the next move. Seraphina's stomach dropped. How long do I have? Before he finds this place? Months, maybe never. Before he tries again somewhere else? Days. Then why am I still here? Why not move me somewhere safer? There is nowhere safer. This estate has security most governments would kill for. Guards, surveillance, controlled access. The only way Halden reaches you here is if someone inside lets him, and I trust everyone inside. You said you trust 12 people. 11 work here. The 12th is in Boston watching my brother's family. What if one of them turns? Then they die, publicly, as an example. The casual way he said it sent ice down Seraphina's spine. No emotion, no hesitation, just fact. You've done that before, she said. Not a question. 3 times, twice for stealing, once for giving information to people who wanted me dead. What happened to them? You don't want to know. Stop saying that. If I'm stuck here, if I'm part of this now, I want to know what you're capable of. Lucien leaned back in his chair, studied her. The first one I shot in the head, quick. He'd been with me 2 years and made a mistake. The second one I let my people handle. He'd been stealing from families we were protecting. They wanted justice. I gave it to them. The third one betrayed me to a competitor who wanted to take over my territory. What happened to the third one? I made him watch while I dismantled everything he loved, his business, his family's protection, his reputation. Then I left him alive in a city where everyone knew what he'd done. He killed himself 6 months later. Seraphina felt sick. That's who you are. That's what I do to people who betray me. There's a difference. Is there? Yes. Because the people who work for me know the rules. They know the consequences. They make choices, and choices have weight, like my choice to stay here. Exactly like that. She stood, walked to the window, pressed her forehead against the glass. Cool, solid, real. What do you want from me, Lucien? I want you to remember everything you saw in that parking lot, every detail, times, faces, vehicles, anything that can tie Halden to that exchange. And then? Then we build a case, evidence, documentation, witnesses who can corroborate your testimony. What if there aren't any other witnesses? Then we find another way. Your way. If necessary. She turned to face him. What's your way? You really want to know? Yeah. Lucien stood, walked to one of the bookshelves and pulled out a thin folder hidden behind a row of legal texts. He opened it, spread photographs across the table between them. Crime scenes, bodies, blood. Faces she didn't recognize but knew were dead because of the way their eyes stared at nothing. "This is what Halden does," Lucian said. "These are people who got in his way. Witnesses, informants, competitors. He doesn't just kill them. He makes examples, sends messages, creates fear so deep that nobody dares cross him." Seraphina looked at the photos, felt bile rise in her throat. "Why are you showing me this?" "Because I need you to understand what we're up against. This isn't a game. This isn't some crime drama where the good guys win because they're right. This is war, and in war, people die. I'm not a soldier. No, you're a witness, which makes you more valuable and more vulnerable than any soldier I've ever commanded." "Commanded?" "I was military, long time ago, before all this." "What branch?" "The kind that doesn't exist on paper." Seraphina looked into the photos again, forced herself to see, to remember. "If I do this, if I testify, what happens to me after?" "Witness protection if you want it. New identity, new city, enough money to start over somewhere Halden's network can't reach." "You can arrange that?" "I have contacts in the federal system who owe me favors. Big ones." "What kind of favors?" "The kind that keep prosecutors alive long enough to put men like Halden in prison." She gathered the photos, stacked them, handed them back. "I'll think about it." "How long?" "As long as it takes." "Seraphina, don't." She held up her hand. "Don't push, don't pressure. You want me to do this? I need time to wrap my head around the fact that my life is never going to be normal again. Can you give me that?" Lucien took the photos, put them back in the folder, returned it to the shelf. "You have 24 hours. After that, Conrad Vale will have reorganized Halden's resources and the window closes." "What happens if the window closes?" "Then I do this my way, and a lot of people die who don't deserve to." "Including me?" "No, you're protected no matter what. But everyone else connected to Halden, everyone who works for him, launders his money, covers his tracks, they become fair game. You'd kill them all." "If that's what it takes to get to Halden, yes." The certainty in his voice was worse than the violence. This wasn't a threat, it was a promise. A plan already in motion waiting for her decision to either accelerate or redirect it. "I need air," Seraphina said. "Gardens are through the east door. Stay within sight of the house." She left without responding. Found the door. Stepped outside into cold air that bit through the sweater. The gardens stretched out in geometric patterns, hedges trimmed perfectly, flowers that probably cost more than her monthly rent, paths winding between them like secrets. She walked until she found a bench hidden behind a wall of climbing roses. Sat. Put her head in her hands. Breathed. Everything was moving too fast. Yesterday she'd been a waitress pouring coffee and avoiding eye contact. Today she was trapped in a crime lord's estate, being asked to testify against a man who killed people for sport. Tomorrow she'd be what? Dead? Protected? Running? Footsteps on gravel. She looked up. Ruth approached carrying a jacket. "You'll freeze out here," Ruth said. Seraphina took the jacket, put it on. "Does it ever slow down?" "What?" "This. The violence. The decisions. The constant feeling like you're one wrong move away from dying." Ruth sat beside her. "No, it doesn't slow down, but you get used to it." "I don't want to get used to it." "Then you shouldn't have seen what you saw." "I didn't ask to see it." "Nobody asks. But once you do, you can't unsee it, and that changes everything." Seraphina pulled the jacket tighter. "How long have you known him?" "Lucien? 8 years. What's he really like?" Ruth was quiet for a moment. "Complicated. He's capable of terrible things. I've seen him order deaths without blinking, but I've also seen him pay for a stranger's cancer treatment because they couldn't afford it. Send kids to college who'd never have the chance otherwise. Protect families who had nobody else." "That's supposed to make him a good person?" "It makes him human, which is more than most people in his position can claim." "You sound like you care about him." "I do. He saved my life once. Long time ago. Different war. I owed him, stayed to pay the debt. But somewhere along the way it stopped being about debt and started being about loyalty. To a criminal. to a man trying to do better than the world gave him permission to do. Seraphina looked at the manor, counted windows, exits, weak points. If I run, how far would I get? Quarter mile? Maybe less? Guards are good. They'd stop you before you hit the tree line. And if I fought them? You'd lose. They're trained. You're not. So I'm a prisoner. You're protected. There's a difference. Everyone keeps saying that. Because it's true. Ruth stood. You want my advice? Not really. I'm giving it anyway. Stop thinking about running. Stop thinking about fighting. Start thinking about what you actually want, because Lucien's offering you something most people never get. What's that? A chance to matter, to make a difference, to take the worst thing that ever happened to you and turn it into something that destroys the people who create worse things. That's revenge. That's justice, or the closest thing to it you'll find in this world. Ruth walked back toward the house, left Seraphina alone with the roses and the cold and thoughts that wouldn't stop spinning. She sat there until her fingers went numb, until the sun started sliding toward the horizon, until she couldn't avoid the truth anymore. She was going to testify. Not because Lucy asked, not because Ruth guilted her, but because Boyd Mercer had beaten her in a diner while people looked away and pretended not to see. Because Frank had tried to protect her and ended up bleeding on tile. Because somewhere in this country, Victor Halden was sitting in a room thinking he'd gotten away with it again. And she was the only person who could prove otherwise. She stood, walked back to the house, found Lucien in his office on the second floor. He looked up when she entered. I'll do it, she said. You're sure? No, but I'm doing it anyway. Lucien stood. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. I haven't survived long enough to testify. You will. How do you know? Because I've never lost someone I promised to protect. First time for everything. He almost smiled. You're probably right. She sat in the chair across from his desk. So what happens now? Now we prepare. I need you to write down everything you remember. Times, descriptions, vehicles, anything that might seem insignificant. Then we start building corroboration. How? Traffic cameras, motel records, financial transactions around that date. We find evidence that supports your testimony until it becomes impossible to ignore. And if Halden comes after me again? He won't reach you. You can't promise that. I can. And I am. The confidence in his voice should have been reassuring. Instead, it felt like pressure, like he was betting everything on her survival and she had no say in the stakes. I need a gun, Seraphina said. Lucien raised an eyebrow. You know how to use one? No, but I can learn. Why? Because the next time someone corners me, I'm not going down without a fight. He studied her for a long moment, then opened a drawer in his desk and pulled out a compact pistol. Set it on the desk between them. Glock 43, he said. 9mm, 6 rounds, easy to conceal, reliable. Seraphina picked it up. Heavier than she expected, cold, deadly. Tomorrow morning, Lucien said. 7 a.m. Ruth will take you to the range. You'll learn to use it properly. Until then, it stays unloaded. Fair enough? He pulled out a magazine, set it beside the gun. Never point it at anything you don't intend to kill. Never put your finger on the trigger until you're ready to fire. Never assume it's unloaded. Got it. I'm serious, Seraphina. This isn't a toy. You pull that trigger, someone dies. You need to be ready for that. I'm ready. No, you're not. But you will be. She stood, took the gun and magazine. Anything else? Dinner's at 7. You don't have to come if you're not ready. Who else will be there? Just me. Ruth. Maybe Marcus if he's finished with the security briefing. Who's Marcus? Head of security. Former Marine. Good man. You'll like him. I don't like anybody right now. Then you'll tolerate him. She left the office, went back to her room, set the gun on the nightstand, stared at it until the sun disappeared and the room filled with shadows. At 7, she went downstairs, found the dining room. Lucien sat at the head of a table built for 12. Ruth sat to his right. A man she didn't recognize sat across from Ruth. Broad shoulders, shaved head, scars on his hands. Military bearing even sitting down. Seraphina, Lucian said. This is Marcus Webb. Marcus? Seraphina Vale. Marcus stood, extended his hand. Ma'am. She shook it, firm grip, respectful. Just Seraphina. Seraphina, then. She sat next to Ruth. Food appeared. Roasted chicken, vegetables, bread that smelled like it had been baked hours ago, wine she didn't touch. They ate in silence for a while, awkward, tense. So, Marcus said eventually, you're the one who saw Halden. Yeah. What'd he look like? Like someone who'd kill you and forget about it 5 minutes later. Marcus grunted. That's him? You know him? Know of him. Worked a joint task force 6 years ago trying to track his money. Got nowhere. He's good at disappearing. Not good enough, Lucian said quietly. Not this time, Marcus agreed. Seraphina pushed food around her plate. How many people are trying to kill me right now? Marcus looked at Lucien. Lucien nodded. Best estimate? Marcus said. Halden has maybe 40 people on payroll who'd take the contract. Professional hitters. Former military. Organized crime. But most of them don't know where you are, and the ones who might know won't get past our perimeter. How can you be sure? Because I designed the perimeter, and I'm very good at my job. What if someone inside helps them? Then they die, and their family loses protection. The casual brutality of it hit her again. These people lived in a world where death was currency, and loyalty was the only thing worth more. I want to see the security, Seraphina said. Lucien looked up. Why? Because if I'm betting my life on it, I want to know what I'm betting on. Marcus smiled, barely. Smart. Tomorrow, Lucien said. After the range, Marcus will give you the full tour. And if I don't like what I see, then we make adjustments. They finished eating. Ruth cleared plates. Marcus excused himself. Lucien stayed. You're handling this better than I expected, he said. What'd you expect? Panic, fear, maybe running. I already tried fear. Didn't work. Panic won't either. And running just gets me killed somewhere else. So what's your plan? Learn to shoot. Understand the security. Remember everything I saw. Testify. Survive. In that order? Whatever order keeps me breathing. Lucien stood. There's something you should know. What? Conrad Vale, the fixer. We found him. Seraphina's stomach tightened. Where? Dead. In a Baltimore warehouse, single gunshot to the head, execution style. Halden killed him. Yes. Why? Because Conrad failed, and Halden doesn't tolerate failure. So he's cleaning house. He's removing weak links, which means he's preparing for something big. Like what? Like a move against you, against me, against anyone who threatens his operation. Seraphina felt the ground shift beneath her. When? Soon. Marcus is doubling security. We're bringing in additional personnel, hardening the perimeter, but I need you to be ready. Ready for what? For the moment when Halden realizes the only way to stop this is to come himself. The words hung in the air like smoke, heavy, suffocating. You think he'll come here, Seraphina said. Eventually. Men like Halden don't send proxies forever. Eventually they need to see it finished, need to be in the room when it happens. And when he comes, we'll be ready. Will I? Lucian walked to the window, looked out at darkness pressing against the glass. I don't know, but we're going to find out. Seraphina left the dining room, climbed the stairs, locked herself in her room, picked up the gun, felt the weight, the potential, the finality. She set it back down, crawled into bed, stared at the ceiling while her mind ran scenarios she couldn't control. Sleep didn't come easy. When it did, she dreamed of pale eyes and briefcases and blood on diner tile that never washed clean no matter how hard she scrubbed. She woke at 6 a.m. to someone knocking. It's Ruth, a voice called. Range in 30 minutes. Seraphina got up, got dressed, found Ruth waiting in the hallway. They walked through the manor, downstairs, through a side door, across a courtyard, into a building that looked like a renovated barn from the outside. Inside was pure function, soundproofed walls, target lanes, weapon racks, ammunition stored in locked cabinets. Marcus was already there. He had the Glock disassembled on a table. First lesson, he said, know your weapon. Know your... For the next 3 hours, Seraphina learned how to load, how to hold, how to aim, how to breathe, how to accept the kick, how to keep shooting when every instinct screamed to stop. By the time they finished, her hands ached, her shoulders burned, her ears rang despite the protection, but she'd hit the target, center mass, 5 out of 6 shots. Good, Marcus said. Better than most first-timers. When do I get to carry it loaded? When you prove you won't shoot yourself or someone else by accident. How long? Week. Maybe 2. I might not have 2 weeks. Then you better learn fast. They walked back to the manor. Marcus showed her the security. Cameras covering every approach. Motion sensors in the trees. Armed patrols rotating every 4 hours. Safe rooms with reinforced doors and independent ventilation. Emergency protocols. Evacuation routes. Backup power. Redundant communications. It was impressive. Professional. Thorough. It was also the kind of security that only made sense if people were actively trying to kill you. What do you think? Marcus asked. I think this place is a fortress. It is. And you think it's enough? I think nothing's ever enough, but it's the best we can do. They stopped in the main hall. Lucien was coming down the stairs. His expression was wrong, tight, controlled, dangerous. What happened? Marcus asked immediately. Federal agents raided 3 of Halden's shell companies this morning, simultaneous, coordinated. They're seizing records, freezing accounts, subpoenaing everyone connected. Someone tipped them, Marcus said. Yes. Who? I did. Seraphina felt the room tilt. You what? Lucien looked at her. I gave federal prosecutors evidence linking Halden to the laundering network. Financial records, transaction histories, enough to start the process. Why?
Busy,
Waiting for you to testify gives Halden time to disappear. But if the feds hit him now, hard and fast, he'll have to react, make mistakes, show himself. You used me as bait again. I used the threat of you. There's a difference. Is there? Yes, because you're still here, still safe, and Halden's operation is collapsing around him. Marcus moved toward the door. I'll double the patrols. Triple them, Lucien said. Marcus left. Seraphina stood in the hallway feeling the walls close in. What happens now? Now Halden realizes his empire is falling apart. He'll try to salvage what he can, pull resources, call in favors, but every hour that passes, he gets weaker. And when he's weak enough, he'll come for me, for you, for everyone he thinks betrayed him. How long? Days, maybe a week. That's it? That's all the time we need. Seraphina walked to the window, watched guards moving across the grounds. Professionals, armed, ready. I'm not ready, she said quietly. Lucien came to stand beside her. Nobody ever is. What if he gets through? He won't. But if he does? Then you use what Marcus taught you, and you survive. Because that's what you do, Seraphina. You survive. She wanted to believe him, wanted to feel the confidence he projected like armor, but all she felt was the weight of the gun in her room and the certainty that sometime soon she'd have to use it. Outside, the sun climbed higher, guards changed shifts. The estate continued its rhythm. Controlled, secure, safe. But Seraphina knew the truth. Safety was an illusion, and Victor Halden was coming to shatter it. The only question was when, and whether she'd be ready when. The call came at 2:47 a.m. Seraphina woke to footsteps in the hallway. Running, urgent, then voices, low, tense. She grabbed the Glock from the nightstand, still unloaded. Marcus hadn't cleared her yet, but holding it made her feel less helpless. She cracked the door open. Lucien stood at the end of the hall talking to Marcus. Both men wore the kind of expressions that preceded violence. Marcus was in tactical gear, vest, radio, sidearm. Lucien was still in the clothes he'd worn to dinner. No jacket, sleeves rolled up, blood on his knuckles. Seraphina stepped into the hallway. What happened? They both turned. Lucien's face was stone. Get dressed. We're moving you. Why? Because someone just tried to breach the perimeter. Her stomach dropped. Halden's people? We don't know yet. 3 men, dead now. But if they got this close, there might be others. She went back into the room, pulled on jeans, boots, the jacket Ruth had given her, checked the Glock again, even though she knew it was empty. Habits formed fast when your life depended on them. Marcus appeared in her doorway. Let's go. She followed him down the back stairs, through corridors she hadn't seen before. Narrow, utilitarian. The parts of the manor designed for function, not show. They emerged in a garage holding 6 vehicles, SUVs mostly. 1 sedan, all black, all armored if the thickness of the glass meant anything. Ruth was already there. She had a medical bag and a rifle slung across her back. The contradiction should have been funny. It wasn't. Where's Lucien? Seraphina asked. Questioning the bodies, Marcus said. Seeing if they're carrying anything that identifies who sent them. You said they were dead. Dead men still have pockets. He opened the rear door of the middle SUV, gestured for her to get in. She climbed inside. Ruth followed. Marcus took the front passenger seat. The driver was already there. Young, maybe 25, Latino, eyes that never stopped moving. This is Carlos, Marcus said. Best driver I've ever seen. He'll get us out if things go bad. Carlos nodded once, didn't speak. The garage door opened. They pulled out into darkness. 2 other SUVs followed, front and rear escort, professional formation, military precision. Seraphina watched the manor shrink in the side mirror. Lights blazing from every window now. Guards moving across the grounds like ants responding to a threat. The illusion of safety she'd built over the past 3 days evaporated completely. Where are we going? She asked. Safe house, Marcus said. 20 miles west. Underground bunker. Built during the Cold War. Lucien renovated it 5 years ago for situations exactly like this. How long do we stay there? Until Lucien confirms the threat is contained or we need to move again. The road cut through forest. No streetlights. No other traffic. Just darkness and the occasional reflection of eyes in the tree line. Animals. Or people. Impossible to tell. Ruth checked her rifle, chambered around. The sound was loud in the confined space. You expecting trouble? Seraphina asked. Always. Great. They drove for 15 minutes. The forest thinned, opened into cleared land. Ahead, barely visible against the night sky, stood a concrete structure half buried in a hillside. Reinforced door. No windows. Single access point. The SUVs stopped 30 feet from the entrance. Marcus got out first, scanned the area, gave the all clear. Carlos killed the engine. Stay close to me, Ruth said. They moved as a group. Fast, but controlled. Marcus led, Ruth and Seraphina in the middle, Carlos covering the rear. 2 guards from the escort vehicles flanked them. Marcus punched a code into a keypad beside the door. It opened with a hydraulic hiss. They went inside. The door sealed behind them with a sound like a tomb closing. Fluorescent lights flickered on. The space opened up, larger than it looked from outside. Concrete walls, reinforced ceiling, living area, kitchen, bathroom, sleeping quarters, everything functional, nothing decorative. Make yourself comfortable, Marcus said. Could be here a while. Seraphina sat on a cot in the corner. Ruth set her medical bag on a table. Marcus and Carlos checked the perimeter. The 2 guards took positions near the door. How often does this happen? Seraphina asked Ruth. Twice before. Once when a rival organization made a move on Lucien's territory. Once when federal agents got too close to the estate. What happened? First time we stayed here 3 days, second time 6 hours. And Lucien? He handled it. Meaning the threats were eliminated, permanently. Seraphina leaned back against the concrete wall, cold, unforgiving. Like everything else in this world she'd stumbled into. I should have run when I had the chance. You'd be dead. Maybe, but at least I'd have made the choice myself. Ruth sat beside her. You think you didn't choose this? I chose to survive, not to become bait in someone else's war. Sometimes they're the same thing. Before Seraphina could respond, Marcus's radio crackled. Marcus, Lucien's voice, distorted by static but recognizable. Status? Secure. Package is safe. Good. Stay there. I'm sending additional personnel. What'd you find? Silence. Then, we need to talk, but not over the radio. The transmission cut off. Marcus looked at Ruth. Something passed between them. Understanding without words. Whatever Lucien had found, it was bad enough that he wouldn't risk discussing it even on an encrypted channel. An hour passed. Then 2. Seraphina tried to sleep but couldn't. Every sound echoed in the bunker. Footsteps. Breathing. The hum of ventilation. Her mind kept replaying the last 3 days. The diner. Boyd. Lucien walking through the door. The manor. The security. The illusion that walls and guns could keep the world out. At 5:30 a.m., the door opened. Lucien walked in looking like he'd aged 10 years overnight. Dirt on his clothes, blood dried on his hands, eyes carrying weight that hadn't been there before. Marcus stood. What happened? Lucien gestured to the living area. Everyone, now! They gathered. Seraphina, Ruth, Marcus, Carlos, the 2 guards. Lucien stood in the center like a general, about to deliver news that would change everything. The 3 men who breached the perimeter weren't Halden's people. Lucien said. Marcus frowned. Then who? Federal agents. The words hit like a punch. Nobody moved, nobody spoke. That's impossible, Marcus said finally. Feds don't do black ops hits on private property. These did. Undercover, deep cover. They weren't there to arrest anyone. They were there to eliminate Seraphina before she could testify. Seraphina felt the room spin. Why would federal agents want me dead? Lucien looked at her, and for the first time since she'd met him, she saw something close to defeat in his expression. Because Victor Halden has someone inside the federal prosecutor's office. Someone high enough to know about the investigation. High enough to deploy assets. High enough to turn agents into assassins. That's insane, Ruth said. That's reality. Lucien pulled out his phone, showed them photos. 3 bodies. Federal credentials. Weapons. Tactical gear. These men were active duty, clean records, no flags. They were following orders they thought were legitimate. Who gave the orders? Marcus asked. I don't know yet, but whoever it is has access to classified information about our operation, about Seraphina, about this location. The implications crashed down like falling buildings. If federal agents were compromised, if someone inside could turn law enforcement into weapons, then nowhere was safe. No protection mattered. No plan worked. How do we fix this? Marcus asked. We don't. Lucien's voice was flat, final. We burn it all down and start over. Meaning we can't trust the federal system, can't trust prosecutors, can't trust anyone connected to the investigation, which means Seraphina can't testify. Seraphina stood. Wait, what? If you testify, you die. Maybe in the courthouse, maybe before you ever get there. But you die. Because Halden has people inside who will make sure of it. So what was the point? Her voice rose, anger replacing fear. What was the point of everything? The manor, the security, learning to shoot, remembering details, all of it? The point was to protect you long enough to find another way. What other way? Lucien didn't answer, just looked at her with eyes that said things he wouldn't speak out loud. No, Seraphina said. No, you're not doing what I think you're doing. It's the only option left. You're going to kill him. I'm going to end this, permanently. That's murder. That's justice when the system fails. That's revenge. Call it whatever you want. The result is the same. Halden dies. His network collapses. You get to live. Seraphina turned to Ruth. Tell him this is insane. Ruth didn't meet her eyes. I can't. Marcus? Marcus shook his head. If the feds are compromised, there's no other play. She looked around this bunker, at faces that had already accepted what she couldn't, that Lucien was going to become exactly what he'd been fighting against. A killer, an executioner, someone who decided who lived and died based on his own code instead of any law. I won't be part of this, Seraphina said. You already are, Lucien replied quietly. Then I'm out. Done. Find someone else to use as bait or leverage or whatever I am to you. You can't leave. Watch me. She started toward the door. Marcus moved to block her. She stopped, stared at him, waiting to see if he'd actually stop her physically. Don't, Lucian said. Marcus stepped aside. Seraphina grabbed the handle, pulled. The door didn't move. Electronic lock, no way to open it from the inside without the code. She spun around. Let me out. I can't do that, Lucian said. You said I wasn't a prisoner. You're not. You're being protected from yourself. That's the same thing. No, it's not. Because the moment you walk out that door, Halden's people will find you, and they will kill you, slowly, publicly, as a message. I'll take my chances. I won't. The casual certainty in his voice ignited something inside her. Rage, pure, clean, directed at him, at Ruth, at Marcus, at everyone who'd made decisions about her life without asking. You don't get to decide that, she said. Yes, I do. Because I'm the one who saved your life. I'm the one who's been keeping you alive while Halden burned his own organization trying to find you. I'm the one who gets to decide when you're safe enough to leave. That's not protection. That's control. Sometimes they're the same thing. Seraphina laughed, bitter, broken. You sound like every man who ever hurt me, every foster parent who locked me in rooms for my own good, every boss who said he was protecting me while taking advantage. You're all the same. Lucian's expression hardened. I am nothing like them. Prove it. Open the door. No. She picked up a chair, threw it at the concrete wall. It shattered. The sound was enormous in the confined space. Everyone tensed. Hands moved toward weapons. Seraphina? Ruth started. Shut up. Seraphina grabbed another chair. All of you, just shut up and admit what this really is. I'm not a witness. I'm not leverage. I'm a prisoner. And you're my jailer, so stop pretending this is about protection and just admit you're using me. Lucian stepped forward, calm, controlled. You're right. That stopped her. I am using you, he continued. I used you from the moment I walked into that diner. I saw an opportunity to get to Halden and I took it. I didn't ask permission, didn't consider what it would cost you. I just moved, because that's what I do. The honesty was worse than the lie. But, Lucienne said, somewhere between then and now, something changed. You stopped being a tool and became something else. Something I didn't plan for. Someone I actually care about keeping alive, not because you're useful, but because you deserve better than what this world has given you. Pretty words, Seraphina said. Still locked in a bunker. Yes, because pretty words don't stop bullets. And caring about you doesn't change the fact that Halden will kill you if I let you leave. So what's the plan? Keep me locked up forever? No. Keep you locked up until Halden is dead and his network is destroyed. Then you're free. Actually free. Not running, not hiding. Free. And how long will that take? Days? Maybe a week? And then you kill him. Yes. In cold blood. In whatever way guarantees he never threatens you again. Seraphina set the chair down. Slowly. Carefully. She was shaking. Rage. Fear. Exhaustion. Everything colliding at once until she couldn't tell which emotion was which. I want to watch, she said. Lucienne's eyes narrowed. What? When you kill him. I want to be there. I want to watch him die. That's not... You owe me that. You used me. Turned my life inside out. Made me part of your war. The least you can do is let me see it end. It's too dangerous. I don't care. Seraphina, I'm serious. You want me to stay here? You want me to trust you? Then give me this. Let me be there when it happens. Let me look him in the eyes and know he's dying because of what I saw, what I remembered, what I survived. Lucian looked at Marcus. Marcus shook his head slightly. Don't do it. Bad idea. Too risky. Lucian looked back at Seraphina. You stay in the car, armored, protected. You don't leave it under any circumstances. Fine. And if things go bad, Carlos drives you away immediately. No arguments. Agreed. And you do exactly what Marcus tells you, when he tells you. No questions. Done. Lucian rubbed his face, tired, so tired. This is a mistake. Probably. But it's my mistake, and I'm making it. He nodded. Once. Final. Okay. The bunker settled into tense silence. Seraphina sat back on the cot. Ruth busied herself with medical supplies. Marcus and Carlos started planning routes on a tablet. The guard stayed at the door, vigilant, professional. Lucienne sat across from Seraphina. I need to ask you something. What? The man you saw in the parking lot, the one who handed over the briefcase, did you recognize him? No, never seen him before. Describe him. Brown jacket, jeans, maybe 40, receding hairline, scar on his left cheek, walked with a limp. Lucian pulled out his phone, scrolled through photos, stopped on one, showed her. Him? Seraphina looked. The man in the photo matched. Same jacket, same scar, same face. Yeah, that's him. His name was Thomas Crane. He worked for Conrad Vale, handled cash exchanges for the laundering network. Was? He died 2 days ago. Car accident, brake line cut. Halden cleaning house again? Yes, which means you're the only person left who can identify everyone at that exchange. What about the woman in the car? What woman? There was a woman sitting in the passenger seat of the sedan. She didn't get out, just sat there smoking, watching. Lucienne leaned forward. You never mentioned a woman before. You never asked. You only asked about Halden and the exchange. Describe her. Seraphina closed her eyes, pulled the memory into focus. Blonde, short hair, maybe 35. Expensive clothes, diamond earrings. She kept checking her phone. Anything else? She looked scared, like she didn't want to be there but didn't have a choice. Lucian stood, started pacing. Marcus, pull up everything we have on Halden's known associates. Female, blonde, age range 30 to 40. Marcus worked the tablet. After a moment, he turned it around, showed Lucian a screen full of photos. Lucian scrolled, stopped. His expression changed. Something cold settled into his features. What? Marcus asked. Lucian showed Seraphina the photo. This her? Seraphina looked. The woman from the parking lot stared back. Same face, same hair, same diamond earrings. Yes. Who is she? Her name is Elena Voss. She's an assistant district attorney, federal prosecutor's office, Southern District of New York. The bunker went silent. She's the leak, Ruth said quietly. Worse, Lucian said. She's Halden's wife. The words crashed through Seraphina like a wrecking ball. What? Elena Voss married Victor Halden 8 years ago, kept her maiden name, kept her career. Nobody in the prosecutor's office knew. She's been feeding him information, warning him about investigations, sabotaging cases from the inside. That's how he's always one step ahead, Marcus said. And that's how federal agents ended up at our door trying to kill Seraphina. Lucian turned to her. The woman you saw wasn't just a witness. She was Halden's insurance policy, his eyes inside the system. And now that you can identify her, you're a threat to both of them. Seraphina felt reality sliding sideways. Every assumption, every plan, every hope that the legal system could fix this evaporated in seconds. If Halden's wife was a federal prosecutor, if she had access to everything from the inside, then there was no testimony that could work, no trial that wouldn't be rigged, no justice that wasn't already bought. So what do we do? She asked. Lucienne stopped pacing, looked at her, and she saw it in his eyes. The decision already made, the point of no return already crossed. We kill them both, he said. Halden and Elena, same night, simultaneously. We cut the head off the snake and burn everything connected to it. That's 2 murders. That's 2 executions. There's a difference. Not legally. I stopped caring about legal the moment federal agents tried to murder an innocent woman on my property. Ruth stood. I'll start prepping medical supplies. If this goes bad, people will bleed. Marcus nodded. I'll coordinate teams. We'll need 2 strike units, 1 for Halden, 1 for Elena. No, Lucian said. 1 team, same location. We draw them together. How? We give them what they want. He looked at Seraphina. She understood immediately. Me. You're going to use me as bait. Again. Last time. I promise. You promised I'd be safe. And you will be. Because this time you won't just be bait. You'll be the trigger. The moment they see you alive, they'll know everything is falling apart. They'll panic, make mistakes. And when they do, we end it. What if they don't panic? What if they just kill me? They won't get the chance. How can you be sure? Because I'll be standing right next to you. The certainty in his voice should have been reassuring. Instead, it felt like standing on the edge of a cliff knowing the only way forward was to jump. When? Seraphina asked. 3 days. We need time to set the trap. Coordinate movements. Make sure Halden and Elena are both in the same place. Where? There's a warehouse in Philadelphia, Industrial District. Halden owns it through a shell corporation. It's where he meets face-to-face when digital communication is too risky. How do you know he'll be there? Because Elena is going to tell him he needs to be. She's going to tell him that a federal witness has been located and is being transferred. She's going to tell him it's his last chance to eliminate the threat before everything he built collapses. And he'll believe her? She's his wife. She's kept him alive this long. Yes, he'll believe her. What about Elena? She'll be there too, supervising the transfer, making sure everything looks legitimate. So they walk into your trap. They walk into justice. Seraphina laughed, sharp, bitter. You keep using that word. I don't think it means what you think it means. What would you call it? Revenge, murder, vigilante execution. Take your pick. And yet you still want to watch. She met his eyes. Yeah, I do, because maybe you're right. Maybe the system is too broken to fix. Maybe the only justice left is the kind we make ourselves. Or maybe I'm just tired of being a victim, and I want to see the people who tried to kill me die. Either way, you'll get what you want. Will I? Or will I just trade one nightmare for another? Lucian didn't answer, because they both knew the truth. Once you crossed certain lines, there was no going back. No returning to normal. No pretending you were the same person you'd been before. And in 3 days, Seraphina was going to cross a line she could never uncross. The only question was whether she'd survive what waited on the other side. I need air, she said. We're underground, Marcus said. Then I need something, space, anything. Just get me out of this room before I lose my mind. Ruth stood. Come with me. They walked down a corridor, past sleeping quarters, storage, an armory that made Seraphina's stomach turn, finally stopped in a small room with a single chair and a light. What's this? Seraphina asked. Interview room. We use it when we need to ask questions and don't want distractions. Who do you interview down here? People who need convincing to talk. You mean torture. I mean convince. Ruth sat, gestured for Seraphina to do the same. After a moment, she did. You're scared, Ruth said, obviously. Not just of Halden, of Lucien, of what he's becoming. He's already what he's becoming. I'm just seeing it clearly now. He's doing this for you. No, he's doing this for himself, for his dead brother. I'm just the excuse that makes it feel justified. Ruth was quiet for a moment. You're probably right. That surprised her. Then why do you stay? Because I've seen what he's capable of when he's not trying to justify it. And I've seen what he could become if he crosses too many lines without someone watching his back. I stay because someone needs to remember he's human, even when he forgets. And you think I can do that? I think you already have. He's changed since you arrived, slower to violence, quicker to doubt. That's your influence, whether you intended it or not. Great. So I'm his conscience now? Someone has to be. Seraphina leaned back, closed her eyes. I don't know if I can watch him kill someone. Then don't. Stay in the car like he said. And miss the only chance I'll ever get to look Halden in the eyes and know he's dying because of me? Is that really what you want? Seraphina opened her eyes. I don't know. I thought I did. But now I'm not sure. All I know is that I'm tired of being afraid, tired of running, tired of letting other people decide whether I live or die. So don't. Make the choice yourself. What choice? Whether you want revenge or peace. Whether you want to watch or walk away. Whether you want to become someone who can live with what Lucian's about to do, or someone who can't. What if I don't know which I am yet? Then you have 3 days to figure it out. Ruth stood, left Seraphina alone in the interview room with a light that never flickered and walls that never gave. Seraphina sat there for an hour, maybe more. Time felt different underground, compressed, endless. She thought about Boyd Mercer's fists, about Lucian walking through the door, about pale eyes in a parking lot and briefcases full of money, about federal agents turned into assassins by the woman they were supposed to serve. She thought about the Glock sitting unloaded in her room at the manor, about the weight of it, the potential, the finality. And she thought about what kind of person could pull a trigger and live with it after. When she finally stood and walked back to the main room, she'd made her decision. She just wasn't sure yet if it was the right one. Lucian looked up when she entered. "You okay?" "No," she said. "But I will be." "You sure about this?" "No, but I'm doing it anyway." He nodded, understanding. 3 days. 3 days, she agreed. And somewhere in Philadelphia, in a warehouse that smelled like rust and old crimes, Victor Halden and Elena Voss moved through their separate lives, not knowing that the woman they'd tried to erase was. Counting down the hours until a trap she didn't see coming snapped shut around her throat. 3 days felt like 3 years. Seraphina spent them underground. The bunker became a cage disguised as protection. Same concrete walls, same recycled air, same fluorescent lights that never changed no matter what time the clock said. She trained with Marcus every morning, learned to load the Glock with her eyes closed, practiced drawing from concealment, memorized the weight of it, the balance, the way her finger curved around the trigger guard. "You're getting good," Marcus said on the second day. "Good enough to kill someone?" "Good enough not to kill yourself by accident. That's all I can promise." She ran drills until her hands stopped shaking, until muscle memory replaced thought, until the gun became an extension of her arm instead of a foreign object she held with fear. Ruth checked her ribs every evening. The bruises had faded to yellow-green. The pain was manageable. Breathing didn't hurt anymore unless she twisted wrong. "You're healing fast," Ruth said. "Not fast enough. Fast enough for what Lucien has planned." "And what's that exactly? Nobody's told me details." "Because the details change every 6 hours. Halden's moving, Elena's coordinating federal resources. The warehouse location keeps shifting. Lucien's adapting." "How do you adapt to 2 people who control law enforcement?" "You become unpredictable. Move faster than they can react. Hit them before they know you're coming." "That's not a plan. That's suicide." Ruth smiled, grim. "Sometimes they're the same thing." Lucian was gone most of the time, coordinating, planning, moving pieces on a board Seraphina couldn't see. When he did show up, he looked worse each time. Less sleep, more weight, eyes carrying calculations that never stopped running. On the 3rd night, he arrived at the bunker at 11 p.m., called everyone into the main room. Marcus, Ruth, Carlos, the guards, Seraphina. He spread a map across the table. Philadelphia Industrial District. Warehouses marked in red. Streets highlighted in yellow. Entry points circled in black. "Tomorrow," Lucian said, 1 p.m. Elena convinced Halden that a federal witness is being transferred through Philadelphia. Told him it's his last shot to eliminate the threat before testimony goes public. He's taking the bait. "How do you know?" Marcus asked. "Because Elena just reserved the warehouse. Told her office she needs it for a controlled witness handoff. Federal procedure. Everything looks legitimate." "And Halden?" "He'll have his own people there, disguised as federal agents, fake credentials, real weapons. They'll intercept the transfer, kill the witness, dispose of the body. Elena covers it up as a security failure." "Except the witness isn't real," Seraphina said. "The witness is you," Lucian corrected, "but you won't be where they expect." He pointed to the map. The warehouse has 3 levels. Ground floor, mezzanine, glass office overlooking everything. Elena will position herself in the office, gives her clear sight lines, control of the space. Halden will enter through the loading dock on the east side. His people will be scattered throughout, maybe 10, maybe 15, all armed, all willing to die for him. "So we're outnumbered," Marcus said. "We're outpositioned. There's a difference." Lucian traced routes on the map. "We have people outside, snipers on the buildings across the street. 2 teams blocking exits, armored vehicles ready to intercept anyone who runs. The moment Halden enters that warehouse, it becomes a cage." "What about Elena?" "She stays alive until Halden sees her, until he understands that his wife is the reason everything collapsed. Then she becomes irrelevant." Ruth frowned. "You're going to let him see her?" I'm going to make him see her, in handcuffs, surrounded by federal agents, real ones this time, ones I've personally vetted. How'd you flip federal agents? I didn't flip them. I showed them evidence that one of their own has been sabotaging cases for 8 years. Showed them the bodies, the failed prosecutions, the witnesses who died under mysterious circumstances. They want Elena almost as much as I want Halden. Seraphina stared at the map. Where do I fit? Lucian pointed to a section marked in blue. Armored car. Parked 50 feet from the loading dock, tinted windows, bulletproof glass. You'll be inside with Carlos, engine running, ready to move if things go bad. And if they don't go bad? Then at exactly 1:27 p.m., the side door opens. You step out. Stand there for 4 seconds. Let Halden see you. Let him understand what you are. Then you get back in the car, and Carlos drives you away. 4 seconds. That's all we need. 4 seconds for Halden to realize the witness is alive, that his wife is in custody, that his empire is finished. 4 seconds for his world to end. Then we end him. You make it sound simple. It is simple. Simple doesn't mean easy. Marcus studied the map. What about Halden's security? Personal guards? He'll have 2, maybe 3. Former military, well-trained. They'll be close. So we take them first. No. We let them see Seraphina. Let them react. Use their movement to identify who's who. Then we take them. That's a lot of variables. War is variables. We just control more of them than Halden does. Seraphina looked at Lucian, really looked, saw the man beneath the strategy, exhausted, driven, willing to burn everything to reach this moment. What happens after? She asked. After what? After Halden's dead. After Elena's arrested. After all this is finished, what happens to us? You get your life back. I keep my promise. And you? I live with what I've done. Same as always. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have. The room fell quiet. Nobody moved. The weight of tomorrow pressed down like concrete. Get some sleep, Lucian said finally. All of you. We leave at 9 a.m. 6 hours to position everyone, 4 hours to wait, 4 seconds to execute. And then? Ruth asked. Then it's over. They dispersed. Seraphina went to her cot, lay down, stared at the ceiling. Sleep was impossible. Her mind raced, running scenarios, playing outcomes, trying to imagine what 4 seconds in a doorway would feel like when your life depended on them. At 3 a.m., Lucian knocked on her door. You awake? He asked quietly. Yeah. He came in, sat on the chair near her cot. They didn't speak for a long time, just existed in the same space while the bunker hummed around them. You don't have to do this, Lucian said finally. Yes, I do. Why? Because if I don't, I'll spend the rest of my life wondering if I was brave enough, and I'm tired of wondering. Bravery and stupidity look the same from certain angles. Then I guess we'll find out which one I am. Lucian leaned forward, elbows on his knees, hands clasped. If something goes wrong tomorrow, shh, don't. Listen to me. If something goes wrong, Carlos will get you out. He's the best I have. Trust him. I trust you. Don't. I've made too many mistakes to earn that. You saved my life. I put your life in danger. There's a difference. She sat up, faced him in the dim light. You gave me a choice when nobody else ever did. You could have forced me, used me, thrown me away when I stopped being useful, but you didn't, so yeah, I trust you, even if you don't trust yourself. Lucien looked at her, and for just a moment the walls came down. She saw the grief he carried, the brother he'd lost, the years of violence that had carved him into someone who couldn't remember what peace felt like. I'm sorry, he said. For what? For everything, for dragging you into this, for making you part of something that should have stayed my burden alone. You didn't drag me. Halden did. You just gave me a way to fight back. Fighting back is what gets people killed. So is doing nothing. He almost smiled. When did you get so brave? About 10 seconds after Boyd Mercer stopped hitting me and you walked through that door. They sat in silence. The clock ticked toward 4 a.m., toward 9 a.m., toward 1:27 p.m., and 4 seconds that would decide everything. Get some sleep, Lucian said, standing. You too. I don't sleep much anymore. Why not? Because the people I've killed don't let me. He left. Seraphina lay back down, closed her eyes. And somehow, impossibly, sleep found her. She woke at 8 a.m. to Ruth shaking her shoulder. Time to move. Seraphina got dressed. Black jeans, black shirt, jacket with Kevlar lining, boots with reinforced toes. The Glock went into a holster at her hip. Marcus had finally cleared her to carry it loaded. 15 rounds, one in the chamber, safety on until she needed it off. They gathered in the main room. Lucien wore tactical gear, vest, radio, sidearm. He looked like he was going to war, because he was. Marcus had a rifle. Ruth had her medical bag and a pistol. Carlos wore a driver's vest and carried a shotgun. The guards were armed with automatic weapons. Everyone moved with precision, no wasted motion, no hesitation. Final check, Lucien said. Comms? Everyone tested their radios, clear signals. Weapons? Sounds of magazines being checked, safeties tested, chambers verified. Routes? Marcus recited primary and secondary escape paths. Carlos confirmed vehicle positions. Ruth listed hospital trauma centers within 10 minutes of the warehouse. Questions? Nobody spoke. Then let's move. They loaded into 3 SUVs. Seraphina rode with Carlos and Lucien. The drive took 90 minutes. Highway to city streets to industrial wasteland. Buildings that had been abandoned for years. Graffiti, broken windows, the smell of rust and decay. The warehouse appeared ahead. 3 stories of corrugated metal and concrete. Loading dock on the east side. Glass office visible on the 3rd floor. Empty parking lot. No visible security. But Seraphina knew better. Halden's people were already there. Hidden. Waiting. Carlos parked the armored car 50 feet from the loading dock. Engine running, windows up. Seraphina sat in the back seat. Lucien sat beside her. Through the tinted glass, she could see the warehouse entrance. The office above it, shadows moving inside. They're early, Lucien said into his radio. Confirmed, Marcus replied. I count 12 hostiles, ground floor and mezzanine. Halden's not here yet. Elena? In the office. 2 federal agents with her, can't confirm if they're real or Halden's people. Assume hostile until proven otherwise. Copy. Lucien checked his watch, 12:47 p.m. 40 minutes until the window opened. You can still back out, he said to Seraphina. No, I can't. Yes, you can. I'll have Carlos drive you back to the bunker right now. You'll be safe. Safe isn't living. It's just surviving slower. He didn't argue, just nodded. Understood. They waited. Time crawled. Seraphina's hands were sweating. She wiped them on her jeans, checked the Glock for the 100th time, loaded, safety on, ready. At 1:15 p.m., a black sedan pulled into the parking lot. That's him, Marcus said over the radio. Victor Halden stepped out of the back seat, pale eyes, expensive suit, moving like he owned the air he breathed. 2 men flanked him. Security, big, armed, alert. Halden walked toward the loading dock, disappeared inside. He's in, Marcus confirmed. Ground floor, moving toward the stairs. Lucien keyed his radio. Federal team, status? In position, a new voice replied. Office secured. Elena Voss in custody. She doesn't know yet. Keep it that way until I give the signal. Copy. Lucien looked at Seraphina. You ready? No. Good. Fear keeps you sharp. The clock hit 1:26 p.m. Lucien's radio crackled. Halden's on the stairs, moving to the office level. Elena? Still doesn't know. Federal agents have her positioned near the window. She thinks she's observing the transfer. Perfect. 1:27 p.m. Lucien opened the car door, stepped out, gestured to Seraphina. This was it. 4 seconds. That's all she had to give. She climbed out, stood beside the armored car. Cold air hit her face. The warehouse loomed ahead. Through the glass office window, she could see shapes moving. Elena, federal agents. And now, walking up the stairs, Victor Halden. Lucien positioned himself beside her. Visible. Unmistakable. Wave, he said quietly. What? At the office. Wave. Make sure he sees you. Seraphina raised her hand, waved once, slow, deliberate. Inside the office, movement stopped. Halden reached the top of the stairs, saw the federal agents, saw Elena surrounded, started to turn. Then his eyes found the window, found the parking lot, found Seraphina standing 50 feet away, alive, unharmed, waving. For 4 seconds, Victor Halden's world ended. Seraphina saw it happen, saw his face change, saw the moment he understood that everything, the laundering network, the shell companies, the political connections, the bought judges and compromised prosecutors, all of it had collapsed because a waitress from a dying diner had seen too much and survived too long. Saw him understand that his wife was in federal custody, that the transfer was a trap, that the man standing beside Seraphina was Lucien Moreau, and this had always been about revenge for a brother murdered 3 years ago in an alley. 4 seconds. Then Halden moved. His hand went to his jacket. Gun. He was drawing a gun. Down! Lucien shoved Seraphina behind the armored car. Gunshots cracked the air. Glass exploded from the office window. Federal agents tackled Elena. Halden fired twice. Bullets hit the car, sparked off armor plating. Lucien returned fire. 3 shots. Controlled. Precise. One of Halden's security guards went down. The other grabbed Halden and pulled him toward the stairs. Halden fought, kept shooting, kept trying to reach Seraphina, trying to eliminate the witness that destroyed him. Marcus's voice over the radio. All teams engage. Repeat, all teams engage. The warehouse erupted. Gunfire from every angle. Lucien's people poured in through 3 entry points. Halden's men fought back. Muzzle flashes lit the interior. Smoke filled the air. Screams, orders, chaos. Seraphina pressed herself against the car, hands shaking, heart hammering. The Glock was in her hand. She didn't remember drawing it. Muscle memory, training, survival. Carlos appeared beside her. Get in the car. Now. No. Seraphina. I'm not running. That wasn't a request. He grabbed her arm. She pulled away, kept the Glock pointed at the ground, but ready. Ready for what? She didn't know, but ready. Inside the warehouse, the firefight intensified. Lucien's people were winning, superior positioning, better training. Halden's men were falling, one by one. Some surrendered, some fought until they couldn't. But Halden himself was gone, disappeared into the warehouse depths, his remaining security guard covering his retreat. Lucien sprinted toward the loading dock. Marcus, where is he? Ground floor, heading for the south exit. Cut him off. On it. Lucien disappeared inside. Seraphina started to follow. Carlos blocked her. Don't, he said. He needs help. He needs you alive. That's the help you give him. More gunfire. Closer now. A body fell through a second-story window, hit the pavement, didn't move. Ruth's voice over the radio. I need medical at the east entrance. Officer down. GSW to the chest. On my way, Ruth replied from somewhere inside. The shooting was dying down. Fewer shots, longer pauses between them. The battle was ending, but the war wasn't over. Seraphina heard running footsteps. Turned. A man burst through a side door, Halden's security guard. Blood on his shoulder, gun in his hand, eyes wild. He saw Seraphina, raise the gun. She moved without thinking, brought the Glock up, aimed, fired. The recoil shocked her. The sound was enormous. The guard stumbled, looked surprised, fired back. The bullet hit the car 6 inches from Seraphina's head. Carlos tackled her, covered her body with his, fired his shotgun twice. The guard went down, stayed down. You okay? Carlos asked. Seraphina couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. She'd just shot someone, actually pulled the trigger, watched him fall. The training had worked. The muscle memory had saved her, but the reality was crushing. Seraphina, Carlos said urgently, you hit. No, I don't think so. He pulled her up, checked her for wounds, found none. Stay behind me. Do not leave my sight. They moved toward the loading dock. The gunfire had stopped completely now. Eerie silence. Smoke drifting through broken windows. Bodies scattered across the concrete. Marcus emerged. Blood on his vest. Not his. We got most of them. 4 dead. 6 in custody. 3 ran. Teams are pursuing. Halden? Lucien's voice. Still inside, cornered on the 2nd floor. No way out. Elena? In custody. Federal agents have her. She's done. Lucian appeared at the loading dock entrance, looked at Seraphina, saw Carlos covering her, saw the dead guard nearby, saw the Glock still in her hand. "You fired," he said. "He was going to kill me." "Did you hit him?" "I think so. Carlos finished it." Lucien nodded. "Good. Get her back to the car. Lock it down. Don't open the door for anyone except me or Marcus." "Where are you going?" Seraphina asked. "To finish this." He turned back toward the warehouse. Seraphina grabbed his arm. "Wait." He stopped, looked at her. "Don't die in there," she said. "I didn't go through all this just to watch you throw your life away for revenge. This isn't revenge anymore." "Then what is it?" "Justice. Or the closest thing we'll ever get." He pulled free, walked back inside. Marcus followed. Carlos tried to move Seraphina toward the car. She resisted. "I need to see it," she said. "See what?" "The end. I need to see how it ends." "Seraphina, please." Carlos looked at her, saw something in her expression that made him stop arguing. "Stay behind me. Don't move unless I move. Don't speak unless I speak. And if I say run, you run. Understood?" "Yes." They entered the warehouse. The interior was carnage, bodies, blood, shell casings scattered like rain. Smoke hung in the air thick enough to taste. Seraphina's boots crunched on broken glass. They climbed the stairs, carefully, weapons ready. Each step echoed. Second floor. Mezzanine overlooking the ground level. Catwalks. Metal railings. Offices with blown-out doors, voices ahead. Lucien, Marcus, someone else. They moved closer, stopped at a corner. Carlos held up his hand. "Wait here." Seraphina peered around the edge. Saw them. Lucien and Marcus stood 30 feet from a glass-walled office. Inside, Victor Halden sat in a chair, hands on the armrests, no weapon visible, blood on his shirt from a wound Seraphina couldn't see. His pale eyes were as cold as ever, but something had changed. Defeat, resignation, understanding. The witness had survived. His wife was in custody. His empire was ash. There was nothing left to bargain with, nowhere left to run. "It's over," Lucien said. His voice was steady, final. Halden smiled. Thin, bitter. "Is it? Your network is collapsed. Your accounts are frozen. Your people are dead or in custody. Elena will testify against you to save herself. You have nothing." "I have time." "No, you don't. You won't kill me here. Too many witnesses, federal agents downstairs. You're not stupid enough to execute me in front of them." "You're right, I won't." Halden's smile widened. "Then what's your play, Moreau?" Lucien gestured to Marcus. Marcus pulled out his phone, showed it to Halden through the glass. "That's a federal arrest warrant, signed 30 minutes ago. Charges including money laundering, racketeering, conspiracy to commit murder, and about 40 other counts that guarantee you die in prison. The federal agents downstairs? They're here for you, not me." Halden's smile faltered. "Pas. You're going to spend the rest of your life in a cell," Lucien continued. "No deals, no bargains, no political connections to save you. Because every connection you had is being rounded up right now. Every judge you bought, every prosecutor you compromised, every official you owned, they're all falling, and when they fall, they'll drag you down with them. You can't prove—" "I can prove everything. Financial records, witness testimony, recorded conversations. Your wife kept excellent records. She's already negotiating immunity in exchange for everything she knows, which is everything you've done for 8 years." Halden stood, rage replacing the cold calculation. "That's impossible. Elena would never—" "She already has. 20 minutes ago. Full cooperation. She'll testify, provide documents, name names, all to avoid spending life in prison beside you. She's my wife. She was your insurance policy, and insurance policies have expiration dates." Halden's face twisted. Anger, hatred, helplessness, all of it colliding at once. He lunged toward the glass, slammed his hands against it, screamed something incoherent. Lucien didn't flinch, just watched, waited. Let Halden exhaust himself against the futility of his situation. Finally, Halden stopped, leaned against the glass, breathing hard, broken. "What was she to you?" Halden asked quietly. "The waitress. What was she worth all this?" Lucien was silent for a long moment. Then, Hope. Hope? That someone could survive what you do to people, that justice could still mean something, that the people you destroy could fight back and win. Halden laughed, hollow, empty. You think you won? I know I did. Killing me won't bring your brother back. No. But destroying everything you built might save the next brother from the same fate. Footsteps on the stairs. Federal agents appeared. Real ones. Badges. Weapons. Authority. Victor Halden, the lead agent said, "You're under arrest." They moved into the office, cuffed him, read him his rights. Halden didn't resist, just stared at Lucian with eyes that promised violence even in defeat. As they led him away, Halden stopped, looked back. "This isn't over," he said. "Yes," Lucian replied. "It is." They took him down the stairs, out of sight, out of Seraphina's life, forever. She stepped around the corner. Lucian turned, saw her. His expression softened. "You were supposed to stay in the car," he said. "I needed to see." And? And it's really over? The part involving you? Yes. What about the part involving you? Lucien looked at the empty office, at the blood on the floor, at the federal agents moving through the warehouse cataloging evidence. That part never ends. Marcus approached. "Feds want statements, all of us." "Later. Get Seraphina out of here first." "Where?" "The estate. Full security. Nobody gets in or out without my authorization." "For how long?" "Until I'm sure there's no blowback." Marcus nodded, started to leave, stopped. "You did good today." "People died." "Bad people. There's the difference." "Is there?" Marcus didn't answer, just left. Lucien walked to Seraphina, stood close enough that she could see the exhaustion in his eyes, the weight he'd been carrying finally starting to lift. "Thank you," he said. "For what?" "For being brave enough to stand in that doorway. For trusting me when you had every reason not to. For surviving. I didn't have a choice. You always had a choice. You just made the hard one instead of the easy one." Seraphina looked down at the Glock still in her hand. She'd fired it, hit someone, maybe killed them. Carlos had finished it, but she'd started it. That reality was going to live with her forever. "I shot someone today," she said quietly. "I know." "Does it get easier?" "No. It gets familiar. There's a difference." "I don't want it to get familiar." "Then this is the last time, I promise." She looked up at him. "Can you keep that promise?" "I don't know. But I'll try." Carlos appeared. "We need to move. Feds are starting to ask questions about unauthorized personnel." They left through a side exit, avoided the main areas where agents were working, got into the armored car. Carlos drove, fast but controlled, away from the warehouse, away from the bodies, away from Victor Halden's last stand. Seraphina sat in the back, stared out the window, watched Philadelphia blur into highways, highways into countryside, countryside into forest, back toward the estate, back toward walls and guards and the illusion of safety. But something had changed. She'd stepped into the fire, stood in the doorway, faced the man who'd tried to kill her, and survived. That meant something. What exactly she didn't know yet, but it meant something. The estate appeared ahead, gates opening, guards waving them through, the manor rising from the grounds like a fortress that had weathered a storm and refused to fall. Seraphina spent the first night back at the estate staring at the ceiling while her hands wouldn't stop shaking. She'd washed them 3 times, but still felt the Glock's residue. Gun oil, cordite, the memory of recoil traveling up her arms, the guard's face when her bullet hit him. Surprise more than pain, like he couldn't believe a waitress from Blackridge had put lead in his chest. Carlos had finished it, but she'd started it. That distinction mattered in ways she couldn't articulate yet. Ruth checked on her at 2 a.m., didn't ask questions, just sat in the chair near the window and existed in the same space, presence instead of words. Sometimes that was enough. "You did what you had to do," Ruth said finally. "That's what everyone keeps telling me. Because it's true. Doesn't make it easier." "No, it doesn't." Ruth stood, left a bottle of sleeping pills on the nightstand, walked to the door, stopped. "Lucien's downstairs," she said. "Library. If you want to talk, I don't. Then don't. But he's there if you change your mind. She left. Seraphina lay in the dark for another hour, then gave up on sleep, got dressed, walked downstairs. The library was exactly where Ruth said. Lucian sat in one of the high-backed chairs near the fireplace. No fire burning, just darkness and the weight of everything that had happened pressing down on the room like gravity had doubled. He looked up when she entered. Couldn't sleep? Can you? Not for years. She sat across from him. Same chairs they'd occupied days ago when this plan was just theory. Before the warehouse, before the bullets, before Victor Halden's world ended in a glass office while federal agents read him rights he'd spent a lifetime believing didn't apply to him. Is it really over? Seraphina asked. For you? Yes. Halden's in federal custody. Maximum security, no bail, no visitors except his lawyers. Elena's cooperating, giving up everything. Names, accounts, operations. She'll serve time, but nothing compared to what he's facing. What about the people who worked for him? The ones who survived are either in custody or running. My people are tracking them. The federal task force is coordinating with international agencies. It'll take months to unravel completely, but the network is dead. Without Halden and Elena at the center, it collapses. And the corrupt officials, the judges, the prosecutors? Being investigated, quietly. The kind of investigation that takes years but destroys careers. Some will resign. Some will face charges. Some will disappear before anyone can touch them. But the system is cleaning itself, slowly, painfully. But it's happening. Seraphina leaned back. Let that sink in. So I'm free. Yes. Just like that. Just like that. She waited for relief, for the weight to lift, for something to feel different. But all she felt was empty, like she'd been holding her breath for so long that exhaling left nothing behind. What happens now? She asked. Whatever you want. Witness protection if you want a new identity, money to start over anywhere in the country, or you stay here until you figure out what comes next. How long can I stay? As long as you need. And what do you get out of it? Lucian was quiet for a moment. Peace of mind. Knowing you're safe. That's all? That's everything. She studied him. The exhaustion carved into his face, the scars on his hands, the way he held himself like someone who'd forgotten how to relax because danger had been his baseline for too long. Your brother, she said. Daniel. Did this give you what you needed? I don't know yet. Ask me in a year. What'll you do now? Same thing I've always done. Run the organization, make money, protect the people who work for me. Try to do less harm than the people I replace. That's it? That's your life? That's what's left of it. Sounds lonely. It is. The admission hung between them. Raw. Unguarded. Lucian looked at her, and for the first time since they'd met, Seraphina saw past the crime lord, past the strategist, past the man who'd orchestrated Halden's destruction with the precision of a surgeon removing a tumor. She saw someone who'd been alone so long he'd forgotten what connection felt like. I'm staying, she said. He looked surprised. Why? Because I don't have anywhere else to go. And because you're the first person who ever asked me what I wanted instead of telling me what I needed. That's not a good reason. It's my reason. That makes it good enough. Lucian stood, walked to the window. Dawn was starting to break. Pale light filtering through the trees, the estate grounds emerging from darkness like something being slowly revealed. You should sleep, he said without turning around. So should you. I will. Eventually. Seraphina stood, walked to stand beside him, close enough to feel the heat from his body, close enough to remind him that he wasn't as alone as he'd convinced himself he was. Thank you, she said quietly. For what? For everything. For saving me, for protecting me, for letting me be part of ending the man who tried to erase me. You don't owe me thanks. I know, but I'm giving it anyway. She left him standing at the window, went back upstairs, took one of Ruth's pills, crawled into bed, and for the first time in longer than she could remember, sleep came without nightmares. She woke at noon, sunlight streaming through the windows, the sound of birds outside. Normal sounds, safe sounds. The kind that only existed when violence wasn't lurking around every corner, Ruth was waiting in the hallway when Seraphina emerged. "How do you feel?" Ruth asked. "Tired, but better." "Good. Lucien wants to see you. Dining room, when you're ready." Seraphina showered, changed clothes, found the dining room. Lucien sat at the table with papers spread in front of him. Legal documents, financial records, the business of dismantling an empire. He looked up. "Sit." She sat. "I've been thinking about your situation," Lucien said. "You can't go back to Blackridge. Too many people know what happened, too many loose ends. But you can go anywhere else. I've arranged several options." He slid papers across the table. Each one detailed a different life, different city, different identity, different future. Seattle. Small apartment near the university. Enrollment in a paralegal program. Enough money to cover tuition and living expenses for 2 years. Denver. Nonprofit organization helping domestic violence survivors. Job offer. Salary. Benefits. Housing assistance. Boston. Near Lucian's brother's family. Protection. Proximity to people who understood what it meant to lose someone to Halden's violence. Seraphina looked at each option. Perfect on paper. Escape routes disguised as opportunities. "These are all running," she said. "These are all starting over." Same thing. No, it's not. Running is fear. Starting over is choice. She pushed the papers back. "I told you last night. I'm staying." "Seraphina, I'm staying. Not forever, but for now, until I figure out who I am when I'm not afraid." "This isn't the place to do that." "Why not?" "Because this place is built on violence, on control, on things you shouldn't have to see every day." "I've already seen them. Hiding somewhere else doesn't change that." Lucien gathered the papers, set them aside. "What do you want to do here?" "I don't know yet, but I'll figure it out." "And when you do?" "Then I'll decide if I stay or go." He studied her, looking for something, certainty maybe, or conviction. Whatever he found seemed to satisfy him. "Okay," he said, "you stay, but on one condition." "What?" "You work, no freeloading, no charity. You contribute." "Doing what?" "Whatever you're good at. Ruth needs help organizing medical supplies. Marcus needs someone to manage security schedules. I need someone to review financial records and flag inconsistencies. You want me to work for your criminal organization. I want you to earn your keep while you figure out what comes next." "What if I'm not good at any of that?" "Then you'll learn, or find something else. But you don't sit around waiting for life to happen. That's not who you are anymore." He was right. She'd spent too long invisible, too long surviving instead of living. The woman who'd stood in that warehouse doorway and waved at a man who wanted her dead wasn't someone who could go back to pouring coffee and avoiding eye contact. "Okay," she said. "I'll work." "Good. Start tomorrow. Ruth will show you the ropes." He stood, started gathering papers. Seraphina stopped him. "Lucien." He looked at her. "Why are you really doing this?" "I told you—" "No, not the official answer. The real one." He set the papers down, sat back down, met her eyes. "Because I've spent 10 years building an empire out of necessity, and another 3 trying to destroy the man who murdered my brother. And somewhere in there, I forgot what it felt like to actually help someone without expecting something in return. You reminded me. So this is me remembering." "That's it?" "That's everything." The honesty was disarming. Seraphina had spent her whole life reading people, looking for angles, waiting for the other shoe to drop. But when she looked at Lucien, all she saw was someone as damaged as she was trying to do one thing right in a world that rewarded doing everything wrong. "Okay," she said. "I believe you. You shouldn't, but I appreciate it." He left. Seraphina sat alone in the dining room looking at papers that outlined lives she could have lived. Perfect escapes, clean breaks, everything wrapped up and delivered with a bow. But she wasn't interested in escape anymore. She'd already survived the worst. What came next was learning how to actually live. The weeks that followed developed a rhythm. Seraphina worked with Ruth organizing medical supplies, learned inventory systems, procurement channels, how to anticipate needs before they became emergencies. The work was methodical, calming, something she could control when everything else felt chaotic. She spent afternoons with Marcus reviewing security protocols, learning how the estate functioned, where the cameras were, how the patrols rotated, what to do if something went wrong, not because she expected danger, but because knowing made her feel less helpless. Evenings she spent in the library reading legal texts, case law, precedent, the language of justice that had failed her but might help others. She enrolled in online courses, paralegal certification, criminal justice, victim advocacy. Lucian watched from a distance, never interfering, never questioning, just existing in the same space while she rebuilt herself piece by piece. Sometimes they'd talk, late nights in the library when neither could sleep, about small things mostly, books, weather. The gardens Ruth maintained with the same precision she applied to everything else, sometimes about bigger things. Daniel, the brother Lucian had lost, the guilt he carried, the question of whether destroying Halden's empire actually balanced the scales or just added more weight to them. "Do you regret it?" Seraphina asked one night. "Everything you did to get to him?" "I regret the people who died because I wasn't careful enough. I regret the years I spent becoming someone my brother wouldn't recognize. But destroying Halden? No, I don't regret that. Even though it didn't bring Daniel back? It stopped Halden from doing to someone else what he did to Daniel. That's worth something." "Is it enough?" "No, but it's what I have." 3 months passed, then 6. Seraphina finished her paralegal certification, started working with a nonprofit that helped trafficking survivors navigate legal systems designed to fail them. She worked remotely, anonymous, but effective. The nightmares came less often. The shaking stopped. The Glock stayed in a safe in her room, loaded, ready, but untouched. She started running in the mornings, through the estate grounds, past the gates, into the forest beyond. Marcus followed at a distance the first few times, then stopped when he realized she wasn't running away. Just running. One morning she made it 5 miles before stopping, stood at the edge of a clearing watching sunlight filter through the trees, breathing hard but clean, alive in a way she'd never been before. When she got back to the estate, Lucien was waiting on the front steps. "You went farther today," he said. "Yeah." "How'd it feel?" "Like I might actually be okay someday." He smiled, rare, genuine. "Good." They stood there for a moment. 2 people who'd survived things that should have broken them. 2 people learning how to exist in a world that didn't require constant vigilance. "I've been thinking," Seraphina said. "About?" "Moving out, getting my own place, maybe in the city, close enough to visit but far enough to actually be independent." She expected resistance, expected him to tell her it wasn't safe, that she still needed protection, that leaving was a mistake. Instead, he just nodded. "When?" "Month, maybe 2. I want to save enough to cover first and last month's rent myself. No loans, no charity." "That's smart." "You're not going to try to stop me?" "Why would I? You're not a prisoner, never were." "I know, but I also know you like having people close. Makes it easier to protect them." "True, but protection isn't the same as control, and you've earned the right to decide where you live." Seraphina felt something shift. Relief, maybe. Or validation. The confirmation that everything he'd said about her freedom being real wasn't just words. "I'll still visit," she said, "if that's okay." "It's more than okay. And I'll keep working with Ruth.